I haven't talked about comic books in a while because I just really haven't had a reason. I like to talk about some really cringy storylines, like that Captain Marvel one where she's going around and taking out the Avengers. There's reasons to once in a while if it's worth talking about. But for the most part, what's going on in comics just isn't that interesting anymore. I almost don't even review them anymore. On my other channel, I used to do a lot of comic book reviews. And I've cut that back a lot, and it's for a reason. It's because they're just not that interesting. They're not good. They're so concerned with all of this woke stuff that they just have put quality of the story on the back burner. And that leads to things like this. IDW loses $26.4 million in 2019, projects profitability in 2021. I'm guessing that'll be their year. They're going to make their money back in 2021. This is going to be it for them. They're done. They're done. Every year they say they're going to make their money back the next year. They've lost money every year for the past 3 years because I know Tug used to make videos on them all the time showing, because they're a publicly traded company. You can go through and you can look at all of the money that they've gone through. You can't do that with Marvel and DC because Marvel and DC are part of Disney and Warner Brothers. Well, now AT&T for DC. So you can't go and look through their finances like you can with IDW. But I want to come back to this article and talk about this one real quick because this is another part of the problem. Image publisher. There are way too many books for comic stores to handle. And this is true, and the biggest culprit of this is Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics is the biggest reason that the market is so oversaturated. So, I mean, you just go into a comic shop on New Comic Book Day, and one of the biggest things you see are Spider-Man books, literally. Like, there's 4 or 5 Spider-Man books that come out a week. It's like, can I just read one of them? Nope. You need to read a couple of them. Usually, if you want to find out what's going on in the universe, you've got to buy not only 2 or 3 Spider-Man books, you've also got to read the event books. Because it doesn't matter if you want to read those or not, your book is going to tie into those. So now, even to know what's going on in the book that you're reading, you've got to go read that stupid event. A really good example of this is the X-Men books, which were really good for a minute. You had an event, Jonathan Hickman came in. It was called Powers of X and Dawn of X. And in that book, you had a retelling of the X-Men. It's a reboot. And then when those 2 series ended, you have to buy not just X-Men now, but Excalibur, New Mutants, Marauders, X-Force, Fallen Angels, and so on and so on. There's a Wolverine book coming. Children of the Atom is coming. There's a Maury McTaggart book coming. All kinds of different X-Men books that you have to buy just to know what's going on. And you do have to absolutely buy all of them because if you miss one event and the other, it all carries around in the others and there's a ripple effect. How many people can afford that? How many people can afford to buy multiple $4 to $5 books a week? I know kids can't. Kids can't afford that, especially really young ones who you need to revitalize your base. Like when people age out, you need people to replace them, and that's just not happening. So the market is just the same demographic of people that have been reading it since, the 70s, 80s, and 90s and early 2000s when the medium was still kind of viable. And there's nobody coming in. There's no new young faces coming in. And that's really the big problem. The story quality is also causing people that were already established to leave. So now you're losing them. And it's really just tearing the market down. And when these are the kind of ideas that you're trying to use to sell your industry, you're in some trouble. Like having 2 characters of the same name. This is something they've been doing for a while. You've got like 2 Spider-Mans now, Miles and Peter. You've got 2 Hawkeyes. They even had like 2 Hulks for a minute. There's like 2s of everything. It's confusing and weird. It's like, why don't you just have characters stand on their own? But of course, they don't want to do that. Here's the latest one. There's a new Wolverine on Krakoa, and Logan approves. They're, of course, talking about X-23, who was their own character for a while. This is her right here. Wolverine was dead for a minute, if you don't know that. They recently brought him back like last year, and then had you, if you wanted to know how he came back, you had to buy like all kinds of mini series and stuff. They really milked the hell out of his return. He's just now getting his own book next month. But X-23, who is his female clone, she took over the mantle for a while, which was stupid because she has her own character. Her name is X-23. People actually like her. She's actually an interesting character that they established. They made something new, a character that people liked and embraced, something new, which I want to stress that because it's something they don't do anymore. So they decided to change her from X-23 to Wolverine. And then they changed her back to X-23, and now she's Wolverine again. It's like there's only one Wolverine. His name is Logan. He's been Wolverine for a long time. What's wrong with having her just be X-23? A character that people liked, didn't have a problem with, but now you're going to have her take over the mantle. And then, of course, you've got stuff like this. Spider-Man's Civil War Unmasking is about to get a remake with a twist. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to retell Civil War now, but with all the woke characters like Miss Marvel. Another character like Captain Marvel, who they try to push over and over again. If the series falls down so low that the numbers are horribly embarrassing, well, then they just reboot the book. This will get comic shops to buy it again. And, then they'll just have more of these books sitting around. But this is essentially a retelling of Civil War. So now they're going to do the whole teenage heroes like Miles Morales and Nova and Kamala Khan's Ms. Marvel. Anyone that's a teenager is not allowed to be a superhero. It's essentially the same telling. They're just telling the story over again. And it's like when you have something that you're trying to sell and it doesn't sell, you retool it or you just stop selling it. They don't want to do that, though. They want to keep pushing these woke characters. And part of the problem is companies like Marvel and DC Comics, they don't really need to make money. When you have AT&T running your business, when you have Disney especially running your business, where's the need to make the profit? Marvel Comics doesn't need to worry about making money. DC's just going to keep giving them money, pumping money down to them. So they don't care. There's no incentive to try to make money. They don't really care. They could care less. So because of that, the quality suffers. They have nobody to answer to. They can essentially do whatever they want, which is the biggest problem when it comes to Marvel Comics. Now, DC, on the other hand, doesn't have the luxury of big business like Disney backing them. AT&T has no real need to make them. I was on a live stream with Ethan Van Sciver last week, and we were talking about 5G, and he revealed, and I'm surprised no one talked about it, some people that he knew from DC Comics, and he more than likely still has contacts at DC Comics, told him if 5G doesn't work, and that's the upcoming reboot for DC Comics, that's it. If 5G doesn't work, they're gonna roll up DC Comics, probably license the characters out. But as far as AT&T publishing comic books, they're not going to do that anymore. What is 5G? Well, 5G is going to be a big change. You're going to replace all the characters. So essentially, from what I was reading, Jonathan Kent is going to become Superman. Wonder Woman is actually going to be non-binary character, some character like that. And Luke Fox is going to become Batman, and it looks like Bruce Wayne is going to become like a type of Batman Beyond role as an advisor, or they're going to just get rid of him. A lot of leaks had it say that he was going to get killed. I don't know what they're going to do. But 5G is essentially going to go completely woke. That's where they think they're going to rebound the industry, is by going woke with the characters. I don't think that's going to work. But what Ethan Van Sciver was saying is that if 5G fails, they're going to pretty much wrap up DC Comics. They don't need DC Comics. They can do shows. If you go to DC Universe, the streaming service, you can watch all kinds of animated shows. They even have shows like Titans. They've got the movies. They really don't need these comic books anymore. And the sad thing is, there's still money for comics. Manga's doing well. Manga's not in any trouble at all. In fact, people that watch anime sometimes will get into the manga, which doesn't happen with comic books in North America. People will go watch Avengers Endgame and won't give a damn about Avengers the comic book. And that's kind of a problem in itself. But DC Comics goes under. I don't know how comic book shops survive. There's already so few. That's a big piece of your business. I just don't see it happening. You know, Marvel and DC shills, though, will say that the industry's doing just fine, which is a lie. Now, we can't see the books of Marvel and DC, but we can look into the books of IDW. And year after year, they lose money. It really is kind of a preview to what's going on at Marvel and DC, because I don't imagine they're doing any better. I don't think they're making any money. So, EVS was saying on my stream that he thinks 5 years, the comic industry will be dead. I think he might be right. I don't see IDW lasting. They need somebody to buy them. I don't see them lasting much longer. They're not going to make money in 2021. That's not going to happen. They're saying that for their stockholders. You know, don't worry, stockholders. We have a plan. If you're an IDW stockholder, let me give you a plan and a piece of advice. Sell. Dump. Immediately get out, because IDW is going to flop. Unless maybe if they end up licensing the DC and Marvel characters, which could happen. I think it'll happen in DC before it happens in Marvel, but it's going to be crazy. Can you imagine a world with no North American comic books? I think Marvel will still sell. Marvel can sell at the Disney parks. They can do digital. I don't see... what is it? They already pay these people peanuts. They're literally hiring people off of Tumblr to do the art. Go look into an average ongoing Marvel comic. The art is pretty hot trash garbage. You know, nobody with any real talent really wants to go work for them anymore. There's no need. Just go make money doing indie books. So it's sad, you know. Imagine a world with no comic shops. Isn't that kind of sad? But they do it to themselves in a lot of ways. They keep buying up these bad books. They don't have to buy these books. Nobody puts a gun to their head and says, you got to buy, 200 issues of Captain Marvel. They do it to themselves. And then you had the whole thing with Richard Meyer. What was that, like 2 years ago now, where he tried to do Jawbreakers, and comic shops were like, we're not going to carry that. We're not going to carry that. We're not going to sell to our customers. The comic shops have also been bought up by a bunch of woke people. They put themselves out of business. They could all stand up and say, Marvel, cut it out. They don't do that. Instead, they just keep buying the same old shit. So, I don't know. I think in about, 5 years then. I think within 5 years, you will see the death of the comic book industry. IDW is already showing you right here, loses $26.4 million in 2019. And that's after already losing a bunch of money the year before that and the year before that. So imagine what DC Comics is losing. Imagine what Marvel is losing. It's got to be substantially more, because they're both bigger companies. So it's a sad day, man. Like, imagine you won't be able to go buy a Spider-Man comic anymore. You'll only be able to buy digital. You won't be able to go buy Batman anymore. I don't even think you'll be able to buy his comics unless IDW somehow manages to stick around and license them out. Because who else is going to prop up to buy those comics? There's no other company that exists. So, yeah, it's sad in a lot of ways. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this. What do you guys think? Do you think that comics can bounce back at $4 to $5 a book? I don't think so. Especially when I can go on Steam right now and probably buy a pretty sweet game for $4 or $5 on sale. There's more fun there. Especially when you have games like Fortnite that are free. Kids don't want to buy these books anymore. Sad. Oh, they can also go buy manga too. I mean, the Shonen Jump app, guess what? That's $2 a month, and you get thousands of books. I mean, manga's there. You can still read that. You don't need these comics anymore. And those stories are a lot better. A lot better. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, guys. Throw a like up. Subscribe if you're new. Make sure you're still subscribed if you've been around. Also, share the video. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment, make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that, and subscribe if you're new.